This is Brian Kemple of Continuum Philosophical Insight, and today we're going to take 15 minutes to talk about memes and Niccolò Machiavelli. If you want to know more about me, who I am, and the work I do, there's a few links below that will point you in the right direction. What is a meme? In a certain respect, even asking this question distances me from those by whom memes are most frequently used today. That is, by Generation Z. This is not to say that other generations do not use memes, though we might, in a sense, say that memes are misused by other generations. For those who have grown up with the internet not simply as something with which they may interact, but who have literally grown up with the internet, with it in their pockets, in all their devices, always around them, these people have an affinity for things that thrive online, unlike previous generations. And the meme, while it certainly predates the commercial internet, takes to it like kudzu takes to the southeastern United States. Thus, we observe today a habitat in which the meme flourishes, namely social media, the networked digital adaptation of a televisual society struggling to repress the natural habits of digitality itself. What I mean by that is probably another discussion in its own right, but to give it a shorthand explanation, memes today are roughly equivalent to what commercials were 20 years ago, considered specifically in dissociation from the aims of capitalist advertising. In other words, they are attempts at sub-intelligible persuasion, albeit within a culture, and therefore in a post-intelligible, or we might say post-linguistic context. By post-intelligible and post-linguistic, I mean that even when we are not explicitly engaged in intellectual or linguistic activities, the consequences thereof, the consequences of being intelligible and having language, permeate our experience, such that all manner of phenomena still have a conceptual context. And it is within such a context that memes operate. That is, within a conceptual context, but not, importantly, on a conceptual level. They do not appeal to us through any explicit arguments. Rather, they attempt to appeal to us through what we already believe, through pre-established concepts, by strengthening those concepts or supporting them, or very often subtly shaping them to something other, something which is somehow more acute, or perhaps of a greater extension, something more radical, or something even more obtuse. Memes do not draw on our ability to think logically, that is, with some critical reflection, but rather impose upon our capacity for perceptual habituation. Consider, for instance, the original Yes Chad meme. And if you don't know to what I'm referencing, I recommend putting Google to use, as it will make this much more intelligible. The Chad figure in this meme, he's strong-featured, stoic in presentation, and opposed to a female brainlet, responding with a firm, confident, unperturbed, and grammatical yes to a lazy, ungrammatical "you're a virgin, haha." Well, to what does this appeal? Or consider, as one member of the Lyceum Institute insightfully pointed out in a conversation thread on this very topic, namely the topic of the use of memes not simply for a laugh, but in the context of any sort of disputation or disagreement online. As a member pointed out, consider the meme which shows one normal-looking person saying, to a fat and slovenly-looking one, "Your body isn't designed to digest thumbtacks," to which the fat fellow, who is bleeding from the mouth, responds, "Ha, nice naturalistic fallacy." In contrast, so the Institute member said, would this not have a more direct and efficacious appeal to most persons than sending someone to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy's page on moral non-naturalism? Does the Yes Chad not give a quicker and more persuasive case for a kind of stoic and manly virginity than, say, St. John Paul II's philosophical and theological works? Or to put this in other words, accusations of the naturalistic fallacy often pit those who make them against good common sense, and the meme can convey this absurdity through a very direct and kind of iconic representation. Just as virginity, especially today, requires a fortitude that many lack, which is conveyed quickly and efficiently by the Chad of the Yes Chad meme. As another Institute member recognized, this itself can be a further heuristic to deepened investigation about the flaws exposed and the good contrary thereto. As a doomer, for instance, might find retrieval through stoicism, or the accuser of naturalistic fallacies might be brought to investigate something Aristotelian, and someone called a simp or a white knight might wonder whether he is truly being masculine. And yet, are these possible good results truly indicative that memes are themselves good? They are a means and an effective one of communication, no doubt. As aforementioned, though, they are one decidedly sub-rational in themselves, and they rely upon iconic signification, that is, a kind of stripping down to essentials, such that they signify through a kind of basic similitude. The brainlet, for instance, is a strong example of such iconicity. The imagined intelligence juxtaposed to the near, if not total, deprivation of the organ of cognitive discursion. One does not need even to be in the know to grasp what it signifies. Likewise, the Chad opposed to it, strong, confident, and extremely simple, but effective image of masculinity. Do these icons, these iconic representations, persuade? Perhaps. Do they change cultural perception? Quite possibly. Do they do so according to reason, that is, in accord with what is true? Maybe some of them do, at least for now. Do they affect this change through an accompaniment by reason, as Aristotle describes all virtuous action, meaning that they do so by the one actively thinking through to the truth? No, they do not. And here enters Machiavelli. I'll not dwell on the history, but very quickly, Niccolò Machiavelli was an Italian diplomat and writer who lived from 1469 to 1527, and is best known for his short treatise, The Prince, or De Principatibus, from which the term Machiavellian has come to mean, and is still used today, to mean cunning, ruthless, and in service of the increase of power. The Prince and its author receive this characterization as the passages therein illustrate various ways of maintaining and increasing political power, specifically through the use of deceitful appearances, of calculating violence, and manipulation. For instance, Machiavelli, in the 18th chapter, writes, "A prudent lord, therefore, cannot observe faith, nor should he, when such observance turns against him, and the causes that made him promise have been eliminated. And if all men were good, this teaching would not be good. But because they are wicked, and do not observe faith with you, you also do not have to observe it with them. It is necessary to know well how to color this nature, and to be a great pretender and dissembler. And men are so simple and so obedient to present necessities, that he who deceives will always find someone who will let himself be deceived. Thus, it is not necessary for a prince to have all the above-mentioned qualities in fact, namely mercy, faith, humanity, honesty, and religiosity, but it is indeed necessary to appear to have them. Nay, I dare say this, that by having them and always observing them, they are harmful, and by appearing to have them, they are useful." In other words, Machiavelli was kind of an ass, the founder of what today might be called realpolitik, that which treats politics as a realm where principles and ideals are all well and fine for anyone other than politicians, who instead must be concerned with getting results, and thus are better off being deceivers and dissemblers, since this enables one to manipulate more successfully. So now let us ask and answer the question, how are memes Machiavellian? Let us recall. A meme does nothing to persuade intellectually itself, but relies upon some conceptual framework already and otherwise established. That is, an iconic similitude will be recognized only if you already have some concept under which that icon can be interpreted and understood itself. Thus, the meme might alter that conceptual framework. It might shift the iconic concept to which it correlates, but it does so only incidentally, through some alteration of perceptual habits. The successfully used meme, the one that accomplishes its intended goal for the most part, it's something which garners likes, and shares, and retweets, upvotes, whatever the small acts of digital approval happen to be named by the particular platform. And this successful use, it should be noted, offers no real opportunity for rebuttal, except perhaps in some cases by an opposed meme. But there's something imbalanced in any attempted discourse if one meme is used and garners a great deal of digital approval for anything conversely to be offered. Even an opposed meme is unlikely to overcome an initial wave or an initial surge of digital approval. Such that, if engaged, if it is in fact successful, the meme derails any discussion which was operating previously at a conceptual level. There is no eloquence, no wisdom, no logic at play, no room for eloquence, wisdom, or logic to come into play in the use of a meme or in any disputation which devolves into memeing one against another. A meme, therefore, might persuade, but it does so primarily through winning perceptual adherence, through appearance or through what might be called today good optics. Now consider this passage from Machiavelli. Everyone sees how you appear. Few touch what you are. And these few dare not oppose the opinion of many. For the vulgar are taken in by the appearance and the outcome of a thing, and in the world there is no one but the vulgar. The few have no place there, when the many have somewhere to lean on. Or, to put this in the words of Marshall McLuhan, Machiavelli has no place for eloquence in his education, since he has no trust in men's capacity to be persuaded to follow right reason, or any reason. Do memes trust in our capacity to be persuaded, to follow right reason, to perform our actions with an accompaniment of right reason? One might object. No, memes do not attempt intellectual persuasion, but they rely upon the natural recognition of universal truths. We need most of all to correct faulty perceptual habits, and simply let the intellectual follow. I respond that this perverts the natural order of human governance. That is, we do indeed need to have good perceptual habits, and their contemporary perversity constitutes much of our contemporary cultural failure. But a perverse perceptual dominance is not rectified by a better perceptual dominance. Such a dominance may incidentally improve behavior, but incidental improvement is fickle and unstable. It is not virtuous. Virtue is a matter of choice, and choice requires thinking. An improvement of thinking is needed, therefore, for persons to become virtuous in truth. So the next time you laugh at a meme and go to give it your digital sign of approval, stop and think about what it is you are perceiving and why you are approving of it. What is it that is being communicated by the meme itself, by the user of the meme, to whom it is communicated, and what you yourself are communicating in giving your approval to it? Thank you for listening, If you enjoyed this and other such videos, consider making a small contribution via Patreon, or perhaps taking a tour of the Lyceum Institute.